This fall and winter, I've been riding a bunch of Dutch enduro events on my trusty Honda Dualsport, with the goal to become a better rider off-road.
I think I touched like every line in that hill, but whatever, I'm over.
In this series, I'll share the highs, the lows, my most helpful bike modifications.
I'm loving those lean back platforms. Those are nice.
And how my riding progressed from this to this. This is episode 1. Can I finally survive an OTR? Every year, the harvest of corn marks the start of the OTR season here in the Netherlands. And thousands of riders dust off their enduro bikes and quads to rip over the freshly trimmed cornfields. Ever since I saw Paying the Price 3 years ago, I've been dreaming of ripping through the dirt like that. Here in the Netherlands, the OTRs are the closest thing to it. And this season, I'm finally going to ride them. Not on an enduro bike, but on my trusty little Dualsport. With 150 kilos, a measly 24 horsepower, and suspension softer than my pillow, this is far from the ideal bike for events like this, but it's a bike I have, so it will have to do. And I believe you can do it, buddy. OTR simply stands for off the road, and these events are not races, but specially crafted courses that you can ride as many times as you like within a certain time frame. The tracks typically consist of a mix of farm fields with single trails and the occasional motocross track. The OTR calendar counts 16 events this year, and I plan to ride about 6 or 7 of them. I'm hoping that by the end of December I'll be able to hold my own and actually carry some speed over the cornfields, but for now I still have to survive the first one. This is actually my third attempt. The first time I wrecked my rally tower and spent more time picking the bike up than actually riding it.
Fuck.
And the second time, about 2 weeks ago, I had to pull out after just 15 minutes because I slid out in a corner and wrecked my finger. So I'm hoping third time's the charm and both me and the bike will survive this time. Luckily I have the help of 2 seasoned OTR riders, Erwin and Ciska.
Nee, doe zo wel.
Who have been so nice to coach me a bit. To avoid wrecking another finger, this time we scheduled a practice day ahead of the event where Erwin gave me some incredibly helpful tips.
Precies dezelfde stronk hier.
Kut hè? Now if you want to know what those tips are, then make sure to subscribe because I'll share everything I learned at the end of the season.
Meer snelheid, maar ik ben boven. Nou, dat was hem. Zo moet hij.
We practice some sandy hill climbs, clutch control, lock crossings, drop-offs.
Heel lichtjes voorrem, maximaal een vingertje.
And it all went pretty great, until of course, it didn't.
Oh, dat is echt een YouTuber. Nou, hoe lijkt dat zo'n rallytorentje?
Ja, wat zou ik zeggen?
Nou ja, dan gaan we voor de walk of shame. Links, ja.
Now I may be a noob, but I'm not a quitter, so after some quick repairs, we carried on. Special thanks to One Adventure, by the way, who have been super helpful in quickly getting the rally tower patched up again.
Waar
Ja, naar beneden weer, dit red je niet. Nou, eitje toch? Kijk, zo moet hij.
Kijk, lekker. Hey!
Despite the crash, practice actually went quite well and I left feeling a lot more confident that day. And even though I only had 2 days to sort out the cockpit situation, I felt ready. Before we move on, I want to thank Sven Wiggers for the amazing drone footage in the intro. I really wanted to show you guys what these events are about and Sven has the best footage of it. So I reached out to him to ask if I could use a few short clips. He was super cool about it and told me to use as much as I like, which I did. So Sven, thanks a lot. If you want to check out more of his stuff, then you will find his Instagram and YouTube channel linked in the video description below. Alright, now let's see if I can survive this event. OTR Handel is the 8th event of the season. The track is 40 kilometers long and consists for 95% of dirt. I was told it has a fair amount of single trails and a big sandy hill climb in it, but other than that, I didn't really know what to expect. Some of these events also allow quads, including this one, meaning it will be extra busy on the track today. So my game plan was just to try to survive and not get in the way too much. And then, finally, after getting through bike inspection and keeping Erwin and Ciska waiting for way too long, it was go time. Immediately at the start, we got a taste of the dirt we could expect that day. Loose, thick, sometimes muddy, but always with deep ruts. With Erwin and Ciska riding up with me, I wanted to give it my best effort, but I was struggling to find my rhythm. My front wheel kept searching and sliding from rut to rut, which made balancing hard and upshifting difficult. I think Erwin noticed because he was yelling at me to lean back more. It really is a key to riding this type of terrain. Unfortunately though, I didn't quite catch it over the sound of the engines and just chugged along. After struggling in the single tracks of the previous event, where I crashed and injured my finger, Erwin advised me to install a smaller front sprocket. I was hesitant about it because I had already geared the bike down with a larger sprocket in the rear, but after doing some research I decided to take his advice and I'm so happy I did. I run a 13-43 setup now and this has made the bike so much easier to handle on the single trails. The bike is way less boggy in low RPMs and clutch control has become much easier. Sure, you lose some top end, but I'll hardly ever get up to 120 kph in an event like this anyway, so I don't really care about that. Despite some sneaky routes looking to catch me out, I felt pretty confident riding these trails, although the longer they went on, the harder it was to maintain focus and the slopperier I got. By the end of it, the road actually was a welcome change to have a short break from using the clutch that much. The steward warned us that some of the tarmac sections had gotten really slippery because of the dirt and said that 5 guys had crashed already. This set off a bunch of alarms in my head, because that's exactly why I slid out when I injured my finger.
Yeah.
I came out of a trail onto a tarmac road which was super muddy. I wanted to quickly turn left, but accelerated too fast and washed out. So you might see me ride these bits at a chicken pace today because I really wanted to finish this event, and preferably in one piece. I kept struggling to get the bike up to speed on the cornfields, In this terrain, this bike rides best when you rev it high and keep it in the power band, but upshifting is difficult when your front wheel is sliding from rut to rut. I suck at shifting while standing, so usually I quickly sit down, shift and stand up again. But in these ruts, the bike becomes even more unstable when you sit down, so finding a good moment to shift can be challenging. I sometimes give a bit of extra throttle at the end of the gear, just to give myself a bit more time to find the upshift. So when you hear me revving the bike really high, this is usually what's going on. The quads sometimes follow a different route because the single tracks will be too narrow, but occasionally a rider will miss a sign and cause a jam, like this guy here.
Hier bij het paaltje. Hier voor bij het paaltje.
I honestly felt kind of bad for him because it sucks to be the one holding everyone up, and you can clearly see his frustration. That being said, it was also a little funny though. The long sections of single trail were physical, but also helped to find some flow, and I felt increasingly comfortable on them. On the cornfields, however, not so much. I was motivated to get the hang of it though. At some sections, the dirt was so thick and the rut so deep that keeping the bike in control was super difficult. It becomes even trickier when you lose speed and that feeling is amplified. So the best thing I could have done here was to open the throttle, but you're so locked in on keeping the bike upright that sometimes these logical things just don't really connect in the moment. I clearly wasn't the only one struggling though. I didn't notice it that day, but just behind me, two guys had crashed into each other. I have no idea how this ended, but it doesn't look too comfortable for either of them. I was so caught up in my own riding that I didn't notice this guy either. I thought all those guys standing there were just having a break or something. I don't know how I missed all this, but it's probably for the best because it would have put a serious dent in my confidence. Like they say, ignorance is bliss.
Lekker dik, lekker dik.
Immediately after making a left here, I could see something was going on ahead. It turned out to be this huge puddle of mud with massive ruts. I've been stuck pretty badly in shit like this a few times, and seeing everyone struggling made me hesitant to go in. But you don't really have a choice, you have to get through it. So I ultimately decided to pick a rut and just tried to keep the throttle open as best as I could. out I picked the right side of the track purely on luck, because on the other side Ciska was helping some guys who were completely dug in a mega deep rut. Remember how I said my bike isn't ideal for events like this? Well, that excuse suddenly felt kinda lame when I saw this guy on this little scooter. I thought maybe he had crashed and was on his way to get help or something, so I kinda hung back, but it turned out he was really just riding that thing. I've seen a guy on a small moped at another event, so I'm wondering if this is a gag among some friends or something, but whatever it was, it made me very self-aware and I wanted to lose him as fast as possible. I wouldn't say I was getting comfortable on them, but I did begin to understand the cornfields a bit. At least I'd figured out that revving the bike high and keeping it at its max torque helped a lot. Some of the fields had deep muddy patches in them though, and the transition from the dry loose dirt into these patches was super difficult and even sketchy at times. The thick mud slows the bike down a lot, and because this bike lacks power and torque in the low end, it was difficult to quickly react and correct it, causing the bike to become super unstable. I think the solution is to quickly shift down and open the throttle, but by the time I had it figured out, the bike was already lying down.
Okay, that's the first one. Not too bad.
One thing I noticed at these events is that if you go down, people will always stop to see if you're okay.
Keep my breath for a minute.
Super nice, but unfortunately also necessary because it's not always shits and giggles. I have seen some serious accidents over the course of the season.
Oh man, those guys are ripping.
During the first lap, Ciska would wait every few corners for me to catch up, but then like a minute later, she'd come blasting by again. I think I've seen her pass me like 20 times a day. And here she comes again. It's been super nice to have her and Erwin help me out a bit. You learn so much faster when you ride with people who are better than you. And of course, it's also just fun to share the ride. Coming into the first kind of technical section, my reaction was oh shit, as I thought I saw a drop and immediately had flashbacks to training. Oh! But at this point, I was just going to plow through. It actually wasn't bad at all, although I did come to a stop on the top, but because another rider overtook and stopped in front of me, not because of the actual feature itself.
Go!
As the ride progressed, I slowly but surely started to feel more comfortable.
Hell yeah!
But just when I thought I was getting into the swing of things, I arrived at the second hardest part of the entire route. A full-on motocross track with ruts deeper than the Mariana Trench. If the ruts in some of the cornfields were bad, these things were pure evil. I had a hard time finding my balance and keeping momentum, and as if that wasn't a big enough challenge, I also had to dodge some flying bikes. Whoa. Which scared the shit out of me, but was actually really cool. I mean, if we're talking about becoming better off-road, shredding like that is the goal, right? At this point, I still have a long way to go though, and just waddled along looking for traction. The track also had several tables in it that of course are designed as jumps, but were more like hill climbs to me. I was happy enough just making it up and not crashing though. I kept struggling with the ruts and looseness of the terrain, and fighting the bike for balance was starting to take its toll physically. I'll be honest though, I was happy when I saw the end of the motocross track closing in. The motocross track was followed by a super long stretch of single track, which, as I progressed, went better and better. I was getting more comfortable and began to feel both the flow of the trail as the grip of the surface, even in the farm fields. Upshifting started to go easier. I began to ride most of it high up in third gear and managed to keep a bit of pace going. I wasn't exactly ripping, of course, but compared to early in the day, there was clearly progress. And that was a good thing, because I was closing in on the hardest part. I didn't know what the hold-up was for. Sometimes somebody gets stuck or falls over, so I didn't really think much of it. I was actually glad I could catch my breath and rest for a moment, but then I looked at my left and immediately realized,
oh shit.
This must be the big sand climb people told me about. I saw quite a few riders lining up on the right, so I figured I'd do the same and check it out for a bit. After watching a few riders go up, I felt like I got it, so I lined up, put the bike in second gear, revved up the engine and slipped in the clutch like Erwin taught me. I was a little too light on the gas and I could hear the engine having a tough time, but I managed to get up nonetheless.
Wow.
Behind it was a massive sandbox though, and I quickly found out that getting up was the easy part.
Fuck. This is like pure sand.
This sand was so loose and so deep that for the first time it felt like the bike was struggling too. The main thing that threw me off though was how differently this sand behaved compared to the dirt we had been riding all morning. It didn't really form ruts. Instead it just moved along with the bike and it was super hard to find grip. If you hang back and maintain your momentum, you will probably get through, but once you lose speed, it's so difficult to get up and running again. And I'm sure you can guess what I did. Yep, I lost all my speed. To make things worse, I dropped the bike, and when I finally wanted to get going again, the bike didn't move an inch forward, but instead dug in. And I think it was in this exact moment that I realized this bit was going to suck. I don't know how this guy came flying through here, but one thing was certain. He knew something I didn't. From Conditions like this are so physical that it really knocked the wind out of me. From all the terrain I've been riding since buying my bike, this by far was the most difficult sand ever. So when I saw I could cut a turn, I didn't think twice about it. I stumbled my way down this hill and could see that the end was near. I just had to get down this last little straight. It seemed doable, but the descent wasn't done with me yet, because my rear wheel dug in completely while trying to get over this little hill. Luckily, another rider stopped to help because at this point I was pretty gassed.
Oh shit.
And in case you're wondering, yes, that's how you dismount your bike in sand like this.
Even deze stukje ernaast zetten, denk ik. Even deze stukje uit
Nou,
die...
jij gas, een beetje gas geven en dan...
Oké, ja, dat is ook goed.
Dit is wel lastig.
Zo, dit is echt heel zwaar. Ja, perfect, dank je. Oh. Moet ik jou helpen? Yes. Ai, ai, ai.
Het is zwaar, man.
Zo, dit is niet normaal. Ik ben wel de beeld opgekomen. Ik ben wel de beeld opgekomen.
Ja, ja.
Ja, in z'n twee. Precies als Erwin geleerd had, dus hij zal heel trots zijn.
Jij ook?
Ja, ik ook. Ja, ja.
Netjes.
Ja.
After surviving the sand pit, the cornfield felt like familiar territory and I was ready to rip them up. Well, in my mind anyway.
Ik weet het niet.
To reach the finish we had to cross more cornfields, a few more cornfields, a bit of single track, some sort of lake beach thing, and then of course more cornfields. Right after the very last corner of the very last cornfield before the finish, someone had lost control of his quad.
Oh shit. Helpen?
Weet je wel wat dat is?
Nee, die niet heel veel kunnen doen.
Jij hebt ook geen spanbanden of wel?
Wat zeg je?
Je hebt ook geen spanbanden.
Nee. Ai, ai, ai.
There were already two quads ready to pull him out and we couldn't do much to help, but I did wonder how he got in that situation, since from the last corner it was just a straight line to the finish. I was going to find out just how treacherous those lines can be though. It was official though, I had finally survived my first OTR lap without damaging myself or the bike.
Alright, so I just did the first lap. It was super nice, but also pretty difficult. The single track and everything is starting to go okay. I'm starting to get the swing of it. but there's like one MX track and a really sandy bit, which are like super hard and super difficult. So yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle, but I'm gonna go for another lap. I had something to eat, something to drink. I'm gonna go for another lap, and my only goal now is to just improve on my previous lap.
As you may have noticed, I still find vlogging in public extremely awkward, so let's just jump straight into the second lap. I was riding by myself this round, but I had built enough confidence to push from the get-go and was set on riding a faster lap. The track had noticeably gotten rougher, but I managed to keep my pace going and felt more in control of the bike. In these single tracks, I was even closing in on riders in front of me until fatigue set in and I made some sloppy mistakes.
Oh, fuck. Ja, is goed. Got caught out by one of those roots. I think that's super slippery. Alweer! Ik laat je er wel langs. Begin moeten worden.
Hè?
Begin moeten worden.
Ja, ik weet niet erin zitten.
Zo. Definitely notice fatigue setting in a little, but I do feel like I still am more in the swing of it now than I was in the lap before, so you know, that's good.
Where before I entered this cornfield full of doubt, I was now riding onto it with confidence and got on the gas immediately. I also managed to keep the bike upright in these muddy patches, which made me confident enough to try and blast through this mud pit. It almost worked until I had to switch rods because of a stranded quad.
Ja.
The motocross track was still exhausting.
So fucking heavy this. Gotta get it in it. Gotta get it in second gear. That will make it easier, but then you first have to find a bit of stability. My left leg is cramping. Oh yeah. I think we're out of words of it now. Ah, cramp. I really shouldn't stop, but I'm so tired. And this is so fucking heavy.
And because I was already super tired, I decided to cut the big sand pit altogether.
Come on, buddy. Fuck that. Ah.
The cornfields were a blast though, and I kept upping my pace.
Oh, bottom. Ah, shit. Yeah.
But after taking the last corner of the last cornfield before the finish, I opened the throttle too enthusiastic and learned how that quad had gotten in trouble. This last straight had a lot of deep holes and I somehow managed to plant my front wheel directly in one.
Whoa! Oei, oei, oei. So, that one nearly threw me over.
My fork bottomed hard, my feet came off the pegs and I was nearly thrown over the bar.
Let's not fuck it up all the way at the end because this is the last bit. So.
I don't know how I saved this, but if I didn't, I would have surely landed in that ditch too.
Hi girl.
For now, I made it safely across the finish though. What I didn't know is that this actually turned out to be the easiest event of the season and I wasn't going to be so lucky next time. Or was I? To find out, make sure to subscribe because the next episode will follow soon. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time. Ciao!